everybody, and welcome back to the XXXTentacion murder trial and our behind-the-scenes look at testimony, at current events that are happening in the trial, and what the mental health impact is behind all this. It's our chance to react, hear your feedback. I get to read all your comments, get updated on information I don't even know about, and follow along day by day the XXXTentacion trial, the trial of Jase. I cannot believe it's here. I can't believe he's gone, and I can't believe that this has taken so many years to get to this point. I can't imagine the impact it's having on his family. I can't imagine what it's like for his mom to go back through this. I can't imagine what it's like for his son, who isn't really aware probably of much of this and is probably being shielded from it. But his son, is almost, I believe, is 4, maybe almost 5 at this point. And Genesis, the mother who's birthed his son, the baby mama there, and who is his girlfriend, I think used to work for him and then became his girlfriend. And so I don't even know what they've got to be thinking and feeling, but it's devastating. And so when people ask, why am I doing this? Because it's not music or lyrics, it's mental health. It's the impact of what our lives have gotten to when somebody wants to rob somebody and just shoot them like that. A person like X who had so much to bring to this world and then gets tragically taken away. And we're just going to watch today the testimony. I think it has a huge impact because, it's got a son who doesn't get to grow up with his father. You've got his girlfriend who didn't get to grow up with X, who she was with at the time. You got his mother who loses her son with no point whatsoever to this other than taking money. And so we're going to hear today the testimony of the prosecution, the case they have laid out in front of them, and we're going to follow along with the main points this prosecutor has to say. We've looked before at the key players of the people that are suspected of doing it and the person who's turning state's evidence and snitching, basically. But today, we get to look at the prosecutor and what her case is. So do they have a case, and what evidence does she have? Without further ado, here we go. The trial continues. The detailed murder, they say, is their case. They're going to detail it bit by bit. Here we go, prosecutor.
You're going to hear testimony and you're going to see evidence about 5 lives. 5 lives that converged on June 18th of 2018, costing the victim in this case, Jase Onfroy, his life. The other 4 lives that you're going to hear about are Dietrich Williams, who's on the end over there with the bow tie. You're going to hear about Trayvon Newsom, who's in the middle in gray. And you're going to hear about Michael Boatwright, who has on a turtleneck. You'll also hear about Robert Allen, who's not seated here today, but you'll hear directly from him. He'll testify, he's in custody, and he'll tell you about his role with respect to what happened and the planning and everything that happened with this homicide. Some of the evidence that you're going to hear first starts with the day before June 18th. The day before June 18th, on June 17th, around 8 o'clock at night, you're going to hear from Tanisha Clark. Tanisha Clark has a job, but makes side money by renting out her car through an app called Turo. You'll hear how Turo is kind of like an Airbnb, but for cars. A person can put their car on the app for rental, and someone on the other end can rent directly from the person who is renting their car through Turo. Tanisha Clark, you'll hear, doesn't know the defendants. She had no connection to this case other than her Dodge Journey. She got prepared for it to be rented for 1 day. And so when she rents her car, she is greeted by Tony Robinson. You'll hear how Tony...
All these different people at play, right? Basically, this girl just does the rental service with her car, which is a common thing. People want to rent out cars to travel. They don't want to drive their own car, stuff like that. This case, they're going to rent out this car for 1 day. So obviously, it must be a car they're going to get to do something with, that they don't want to use their own vehicle or get it traced to them at all. Poor thing, she's just renting out her car, getting it cleaned up and ready, and then it's going to become like a key piece of this case.
Robinson was very close friends with the defendant, Dietrich Williams. She was so close to Dietrich, she actually referred to herself as his sister. They aren't related, but they refer to themselves, she refers to herself as his sister. And so Tony who rented cars before for Dietrich and his friends, was asked to rent the car for one day. Not because you'll learn that the defendants wanted to go to Disney World or take some trip, but you'll learn through testimony that they wanted to be able to take the car, ride around, and rob people. That was their plan. And so Tony Robinson, when she rents out her car, is greeted by Michael Boatwright, who's on the end here, and is also greeted by Robert Allen, who you're going to hear from Robert Allen himself. They pick up the car, and by the next day, they are out riding around. And Robert Allen will tell you what the purpose was that they were all together, and he'll say that he was with all three co-defendants, and that together their plan was to be able to rob somebody that day, and that they had all of the things in preparation for that. They had firearms, they had masks, and they had the capability of doing it. And
wow, this is pretty big when you've got somebody who's going to turn state's evidence, snitch, tell on his friends, basically, because he doesn't want to go down forever for this, and he wants to be able to get a lighter sentence. Hey, to each his own. And, you know, when you get somebody like that who details things, and he was behind the scenes, I mean, he was on the inside, right? They had weapons. Their plan was to be able to go rob people, to get money, to get things. And, you know, you got the key players, right? You got Michael Boatwright, who, when the last video we saw, was claimed to be the shooter who killed X. You've got Trayvon Newsom, who was the one who grabbed the bag out of the car. And you've got Dietrich Williams, who was the one who was the driver, the getaway driver of the vehicle. And then Robert Allen was also in the car, but not a part of any of those things. That's probably why he's telling all of these people. This is not setting up well for these three guys.
And on that day, he traveled to Reba Motorsports unarmed with his, let's call him for lack of a better term, step uncle, Leonard Kerr, to go purchase these motorbikes. And at that same time that Jase and Mr. Kerr are at Reba Motorsports, you'll hear how the four co-defendants in this case, the three of whom are on trial, traveled in the Dodge Journey to the same Reba Motorsports. And while two of the defendants, Robert Allen, who's going to testify, and Dietrich Williams, who's on the end with the bow tie, go inside the store to purchase neoprene masks, they spot Jase inside the store. And this is all captured on surveillance.
Wow.
So you'll be able to see this for yourself in addition to hearing testimony about it. And so when they spot Jase, who has the blue hair and he has a very expensive gold necklace on and his Louis Vuitton satchel, they immediately, Robert Allen and Dietrich Williams, start communicating to the two co-defendants, Trayvon Newsom and Michael Boatwright, who are still in the Dodge Journey waiting for them to come back to the car. And it's the communication, I'm not giving you exact words, but something to the effect of that they spot the victim who's inside Reba Motorsports. And they are automatically spotting the fact that he's a celebrity.
This is something, man. If this all plays out and she's got all this laid out and she's got that communication between them and what they're talking about, this is really damaging stuff. It just sets them up really poorly. Isn't that interesting? He's there looking at motorbikes with his step uncle. Mom was obviously nervous that day. He didn't have security with him, so she sent the step uncle with him, I believe. They're in there. These two guys, you know, Robert Allen and Dietrich, go in there, and they're getting neoprene masks, which I'm guessing was to rob people, to put masks on, right? And just the coincidence of being there, I don't think they even knew X was there until they saw him. And then they see him and realize, man, he's a celebrity. He's got stuff. He's got a bag. He's got cash probably. He's got jewelry. So this might be a guy we are interested in. And they messaged, I'm wondering if they texted. I just wonder if they have information on that they texted out to the car, to these two other guys of here's who we're going to follow at this point. What a bombshell this is. I mean, this is the horribleness of our world. Like when you see it get to this point, X is just there looking for a motorbike. He's not doing anything wrong. He's just doing his life. And then these people target him like this. And the devastation of a mother and his girlfriend, Genesis. to be able to have to live through this and hear this story all over again is just horrific.
And so when Dietrich Williams and Robert Allen go back to the vehicle, now all 4 co-defendants are in the vehicle and the actions are set in motion. You'll hear about the layout of the parking lot. You'll also get to see the differences between the 4, because you'll note that it's very important, the physical differences between the 4. Michael
Especially on
Boatwright
camera.
is the tallest, skinniest out of the 4. Trayvon Newsom is next as far as the height. And there's a big height difference between Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, and Dietrich Williams, who's the shortest and stocky build. You'll also be able to see that day, Dietrich Williams has tattoos. His nickname is actually Tattoo Chucky. And in addition to the fact that Dietrich Williams is very short in stature and stocky compared to the 2 gunmen, Robert Allen, you'll see, is also short, and he's also overweight. Significantly overweight, and more overweight than the 3 co-defendants that are sitting here before you.
So she's laying out specific physical features that are identifiers to be able to tell in video who these people are. You know, Michael, that's the taller one. Trayvon's the next tallest, who took the money, the sack. And then Dietrich, who is the driver, who's the short and stocky one. And Robert Allen, obviously, who's the snitch, is the larger one, bigger one that we've seen also.
And so Dietrich Williams, driving, cuts off the victim as he's trying to exit Riva Motorsports. And as just like they planned, they're able to cut off the victim so that he can't move his car without either crashing it or whatever. And the 2 gunmen jump out and immediately put guns in the victim's face and in Leonard Kerr's face. You'll hear testimony about how Leonard Kerr was able to hear what the gunmen were saying to the victim. You'll also hear testimony about how Leonard Kerr ran for his life. And so as Jase is there, unarmed, in the driver's seat, surprised by the 2 gunmen in this case, you'll hear how they start struggling with him, punching him. And that both of the gunmen at one point are trying to get his property from him. They're able to wrestle away from him the satchel that had the $50,000 in cash. And without any provocation, without any type of weapons or anything being used by the victim, you'll hear how Michael Boatwright fires several times, killing the victim at close range. You'll also be able to see the surveillance that shows this. Immediately after the homicide, when they leave the victim there to die, the 4 of them leave the scene, and then they divvy up the spoils of their robbery.
So sad. She's describing that she's pinning it on Michael Boatwright, not Michael Bolton, the singer, pinning it on Michael Boatwright that he was the shooter, that he was the one that killed Jase. And she has tons of detail here. And then they go back into the car with the money and start splitting it up like it's a field day.
You'll hear how the $50,000 is allocated between them, directed by Dietrich Williams. Who's going to get what amount of who's going to get what based on their participation. You'll also hear how immediately after the homicide, in addition to divvying up the spoils of the robbery, they then go on social media and start bragging about how they have all this influx of cash. You'll hear how, in addition to bragging on social media with the cash, flashing it as if it's Christmas Day, and being very, you'll be able to tell for yourself in terms of their demeanor and how they acted with the spoils of the robbery. You'll also see that Shortly after, they then start to put in a plan, because by now, because of the celebrity of the victim, this was all over the news and the surveillance was all over the news. So then you'll hear how two of them immediately hit town. They go out of town to be able to try to...
Trying to get out of Dodge, man. Trying to like cut and run. Trying to like get themselves, you know, just wash themselves clean of it. But they already put stuff on social media. Like what? Like, I'm glad. I want them to get caught. Like, this is just not setting up well for them. But to take somebody like this who's completely innocent and do this, you know, she has, this is some good evidence they have against, at least from what I can see so far.
Get out of Dodge, so to speak.
Get out.
You'll hear testimony about where they go. You'll hear testimony from law enforcement about how all four suspects got on their radar, how they were able to be tracked by digital forensics.
She's laying it all out. So she has tons of data. I'm sure it's setting them up for complete failure here, but
you'll hear how the detectives are able to track the defendants and track the car down, ultimately tracking it back to, you'll recall, Tanisha Clark, who rented it to the victims, or excuse me, the defendants in this case. You'll hear from witnesses that the defendant spoke to before, during, and after the homicide. You will also hear from law enforcement officers, several detectives and crime scene that investigated this case. You'll get to see the evidence that was collected. You'll hear from the associate medical examiner who performed the autopsy in this case and will give you the determination that the victim died by way of homicide and the cause of death. You'll get to see autopsy photos. And as difficult as it is, and you'll understand what exactly the cause of death was and where, how the injuries led to the victim's death. You'll see crime scene photographs, you'll see video, you'll see surveillance, not only from Riva, but also when the defendants are going around and spending money, for example, at Champs or Just for Feet immediately after the homicide with the spoils of the robbery. You'll see that as well. So you will see surveillance from various parts of the investigation. You're going to realize that this is a tapestry that you will see woven together, puts the victim squarely in the middle of the defendant's plans and actions on June 18th, 2018, which cost the victim his life. And at the conclusion of this evidence, you'll find that Dietrich Williams, Michael Boatwright, and Trayvon Newsom are guilty of first-degree murder and guilty of armed robbery in this case.
There it is. This is laid out so clearly. I can't imagine what's coming next, but the beautiful part is she just kind of gave the synopsis of the book, and now we get to go chapter by chapter and read through all the details of what exactly they do have and what evidence is out there. This is why I wanted to watch this. Number one, to be able to see an actual case play out to where the murder of XXXTentacion can be, so that the people who did this can be caught, found, and dealt with. But number two, so that you can recognize the mental health piece. Number one, all these people who were involved had all kinds of broken lives before this and need help. And number two, this affects everybody, like everybody across the world who loved X is devastated by this, and it forever impacts their life. And number three, he's got a family of people who are affected and impacted by this, and a son who is impacted by this, who'll never get to know his dad and will only get to hear this story. And so I want to be able to talk about this because you have to be in a certain kind of mental headspace to do what these three guys did, what they're accused of. They're not found guilty yet, but what they're accused of, you have to be in a certain kind of headspace. Number two, poor X, he's unarmed. He didn't have anything that day, and he was trapped and probably shocked at that point, not knowing what was happening. It was too late by the time he figured anything out. And his step-uncle just ran for his life, you know, as we saw. And so he's got a story to tell with that too. And it's good to talk about this stuff so that we can see how we feel as we go through this case. Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel like better seeing that justice is playing out? Do you feel more pain, more hurt? It's all in there. That's why mental health matters. And that's why looking at this case day by day is such a cool thing. So I hope you'll join me on the next part of the XXXTentacion murder trial. And also subscribe to the Reaction Therapy podcast channel so that you can get the next notification when this next video comes out. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next Reaction Therapy podcast.